see if the live button goes. You follow my tweet link and see if it's there.
Okay, so most of this news I know.
See if
so
we're there.
far
Oh, I didn't even do mic check.
Oh, we didn't do a mic check.
Whoops.
Whoops, live mic check.
Live mic check.
Is the bar moving? Yes, it is moving.
Yep, bar's moving. So we should be live on the new channel, figuring this out, trying to see if we're even live.
Oh, yeah.
So
we already talked about that.
We're professionals here.
we're not professionals today.
We are live, though. So
We are? Oh, boy. So everything we're saying is going out to the ether. Welcome to How They Got Hacked, episode 11.
greetings from Las Vegas.
Greetings from Las Vegas. No, we're
Hello, Las Vegas.
We did not
vocalist.
We did not move the studio from where we are to Vegas.
No, he's in Vegas.
Oh, who is he?
Las Vegas vocalist.
Oh, hey, Las Vegas vocalist. How are you?
Yeah. So people are following from the old channel. I posted. I've done everything I can to encourage people to come here, come hither, come to this side of the world.
Mm-hmm.
We want everyone to be subscribed and liked here so we can do the show. We got 4 people watching.
There you go.
So we're getting there.
We should intro ourselves just in case nobody knows who we
How
are.
you doing, Patty?
Now this is the first video on this channel. So
this is the first video on this channel.
First video.
So we have to introduce ourselves properly here.
all right. So Tom
Going on,
Lawrence.
Kane.
Xavier D. Johnson.
Maurice Nash.
This
Yeah.
guy is like letting it, like the first episode, man. Let it warm up. Let us get in the groove.
And this is how you got hacked. Welcome.
Yep. So I'm just making sure I knew whose
It's
mics
been
is whose. I forgot to do
It's
that.
been a shit show this week. With
Between security,
Yeah.
security is a total disaster.
Security's a total disaster right now.
Everything else around that built up to today was kind of a disaster. So
It's interesting time to be a security anything right now.
that's
Even
it.
a security guard.
Man. Security guards catching it bad.
Man, it's getting warm here where we are in Detroit.
Yeah, I actually left the house and left, run behind the keyboard, went outside. It's
Converge was the last 2 days.
Yes, Converge. Converge is
Yesterday
nice.
and today.
and B-sides.
No.
No, wait, there's no B-sides.
B-sides is going to be supposedly, allegedly in November, maybe.
Really?
Yeah. no
Well, we thought they had those
Yeah,
conferences
just
together. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I talked to the. We talked to. we had a social engagement. I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
With the organizers, and yeah, that was the sentiment.
Yeah. So what did you learn at Converge?
I learned that 30% of the bugs get patched, and not even all of those are CVE 9s and 10s. Some of them are 5s and 6s of that 30%. And I also learned that an APK is a zip file. I learned how to use APK tool.
Okay.
And let me see, what else did I learn? I got to play around finally with some web stuff because I don't have any web knowledge. I'm not gonna lie. I just never went to go do web stuff. So I got to do that in the Detroit, or was it 313 CTF?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was fun, and they had some very challenging things there for us.
Some challenging players
you-
also.
You used some D-Authn and
Yeah.
Okay.
That was potentially one of the methods. There's some other ways to get a passphrase from WEP without using the auth, and WEP is just very, very bad these days. So.
did they have any of the press button hacks where you got to touch the button and catch the characters?
No, didn't have any of those, but they had some lock picking challenges. They had some forensics challenges. They had 2 Ponons, or 1 Ponon, I believe.
What, the CTF?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And this is the important thing. You go to those conferences, and that's where you do a lot of learning. You hang out with a bunch of people.
Yes.
And it's one of those things, if you haven't been to one, it's scary at first because you don't know anyone, but then all of a sudden everyone's like, dude, you got to see this. And you don't even know the person. Like, someone just comes up and says that to you. You should see this and watch how I hack this. Because it's a big game of show and tell with hackers.
Yes.
Especially when we're all in the real world like this. Like, we all want to, show you what we know, and you show me what you know, and let's get this thing. Like, everything's a task to defeat. Whatever we're going to hack is the mountain to climb together.
In the famous words of Xavier, LobbyCon is real.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, LobbyCon is the very best. You know what? And I can't say that those are even my famous words. You know, I learned that from.
Huh.
Oh man, Jason E. Street.
Oh.
Is the guy who actually taught me about LobbyCon. I was trying to go to a really, really high-end elite conference, and it sold out in like 10 seconds. And he said he was going, and I'm like, dude, it's got to be awesome being popular enough for people just to get you into these conferences. He's like, what? No. I'm just going to go hang out in the lobby. I'm doing LobbyCon. I'm like, oh, I'm going to scream from the mountaintops, and every conference shall be extremely filled now that I understand the concept of not paying for the conference and just talking to people as they leave in the great mood from the talk. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll disseminate that information for you.
Of course.
Guess what I just learned in this talk?
Exactly.
It's like, hey, thanks
Oh,
for
man,
the
that's
summary.
awesome.
I
Thanks
didn't
the
sit
cliff
there for an
notes.
hour. You did. I didn't pay $400 for a ticket, but you did. That's cool. Just give me a summary.
Appreciate it.
Give me the cliff notes. But it's the same thing at some of the Linux conferences. People ask me which track was the best because they'll have a track related to web dev or a track related to something else. I'm like the hallway track, man, every time. Go hang out in the hallway. Just, actually, a couple of years back, we had a group of podcasters that were at the Ohio Linux Fest. They rented a conference room just for us to get drunk in. So that's right. Didn't go to as many talks as I did sitting around with a guy named 5150 and doing shots of whiskey. It was a 2-to-1 ratio. He would do 2 to every one, and he still beat me.
Wow.
That dude just lives to drink.
There you go.
But he's fun. He's over on Hacker Public Radio a lot, so he's been around for a while. He does all the what do you call that? Ham radio stuff. I know they get into some of that. There's a crossover between hackers and ham radio people too.
Huge. And like this year, I want to get my license at DEF CON. To do ham
Then you
radio
get
stuff.
the custom ham license plate.
Exactly. And not only that, you know what? So like all of our doomsday preppers out there, right? Let's put on our tinfoil hats.
Okay.
Get them watertight. I'm about to take you deep into the depths. So in the future, in this dystopian future that I'm imagining, there will be a few important types of people because there won't be internet and people will still need to communicate with one another. Radio engineers, people who understand how to get signals from like here to across the ocean.
Yeah.
It's going to be extremely, extremely valuable. So valuable that people will just feed me and take care of me and potentially give me ammo just so that I can continue the communications, right? So I feel like that's always a good skill to have back pocket.
ComSec? You can be the guy with the backpack?
Yeah.
I'm saying, there you
the
go, with
ComSec
a big
guy.
antenna, Echo Charlie. Anybody there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about a couple security things. Cause
Where do we start?
Ooh.
take your pick. So the WhatsApp.
Oh, boy. Major fail.
Major fail on WhatsApp.
Before we go into the WhatsApp,
Yeah.
let's just take a time to talk about Baltimore still being
That's a good one
crippled
too.
to their knees.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the first thing we started talking about when we all arrived was, see, you can't buy a house in Baltimore for 2 weeks now. You can't register a business. You can't, get your business completed. You can't complete it open. Follow the link I post on Twitter. So it's a local news story on Baltimore that the city just came to a standstill. Functional things that require any type of computer to do, like a building permit or city inspections, are all stopped. And the bigger problem is with the real estate market. Hey, cool, I can't get a permit for a few days. Well, you can't even close on your house?
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a big deal.
That ransomware is no joke, and the mayor's doubling down. I'm not paying these people for this criminal behavior.
And that's a bad attitude to have, actually.
Yeah.
I think the FBI is telling him opposite information.
Yeah.
I'm
the FBI is
sure
involved.
somebody's like, yo, just pay the ransom. Please, can we just pay the ransom?
To taunt a hacker that already has you in his grips is not the best idea.
Yeah, they're going to try and investigate it, and these hackers aren't going to get caught. I mean,
No, for sure not.
generally speaking, if they're good, it's sad. I'm not bragging on them or something, but if they maintain a decent operation, it's better just to pay them. And the reason I say that is because clearly they don't have backups. They would have restored them. It's been 2 weeks.
Exactly.
So I think
Operational excellence.
as we were talking about last week, and it happened a few days before, so it's not quite. I think it's like 12 days, whatever, close enough.
Yeah, that's too long for a city infrastructure.
12 days of infrastructure not working.
Oof.
They're literally.
If you're a construction guy, you're not making any money. If you're a real estate person, you're not making money. If you're a city inspector, you're not making money.
No.
That's
They're
icky.
literally at meetings with no computers.
Yep. So they,
They're
I did
using
laugh.
pen and
Someone,
paper.
Well, they could be potentially using computers still.
But they don't. They're
I like
literally
that
there.
someone suggested like all the city
Wow.
workers just go pick up trash in the park. Like, cause look, anyone who had a computer job, there ain't nothing for you to do. I don't know, go
Wow.
pick up trash in the park. There was some article I seen about that, and I thought it was pretty funny. But yeah, that's I'm gonna do a
Yes.
video about how to protect from some of the ransomware with FreeNAS. And I bring that up because we actually did this for a city because they got hit with ransomware. We've done it for 2 different ones. One in New York, they installed a server that basically takes hourly snapshots of all their data. That way, if it gets crypto lockered, they just can roll back the snapshot. But the twist, and that sounds obvious, but one of the twists, and me and Xavier talked about this, you don't put that particular server on with Active Directory in terms of the thing. And the reason why is because what happens? First, they get your Active Directory. Then you're like, oh, I wanted one convenient administration. But then those, file servers, it's all right to have permissions of Active Directory on the files, but you don't want control of that server. Because what happens is, oh, look, the AD was the same admin for all the logins for the backup.
Done.
So they before they deploy their malware and ransomware, they shut off all the backups for a few days, then they do it. This has happened over and over again. There was a good Reddit write-up about this, a few years back. The hacker got in, seen they had a really solid backup plan, but had their AD password. So he went and, he eventually got it. He didn't have it at first, but he had the next best thing. It turns out they had a backup user that had almost AD privileges, so that was the pivot to get in. The guy, the hacker, did a write-up for them of how he did it, and also apologized. So he ransomwared them, but he disabled their backups and everything else.
Oh, it's that guy.
But what he did was he screwed up when he ransomwared and he couldn't unlock a piece of it even after they paid him. So he apologized, but he gave him a full debrief of how the whole thing went down and everything. But he's like, oh, sorry, I thought I could uncrypt everything. You're just kind of stuck on those couple databases because they want to encrypt now.
Yikes.
Whoops.
Sorry.
Whoops.
So it's one of those things, like if you do this, you have to maintain operational excellence of every aspect of it. Using the same admin password for the backups and having that connected through your AD, it's not good because it's convenient because you have one place to manage it, and more people I've had people argue with me saying that's the way to do it, and I'm like, no, the opposite. You want to have some type of separation, some type of different privilege that maintains the integrity, whether it's a VM backup or things like that. This is just an operational standpoint of keeping these passwords separate. Yes, it's another step. Yes, it's inconvenient because I have to maintain some admins on AD and some admins over here, but in the end result is not getting pwned like that.
Yeah, that's pretty tough.
And the city clearly doesn't have anything like that. And we mentioned it last time. It appears to be they're loading old equipment and everything in Baltimore. So they have more problems than just just
the software.
They got bigger problems.
They got way bigger problems. They've been hit more than once.
So now WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. Now this is kind of interesting. So the whole WhatsApp thing. Now everyone's in a panic about it, and they should be because it's a big vulnerability. They were able to, even if you didn't take the call, inject the code into the phone. The reason you may not be worried, with few exceptions, is going to be who's after you. The people they were after, the people were political dissidents, people that were hired, people that were against different nation states, perhaps like Israel and other places, and they would hire NSO group to target those people. So NSO was trying to keep this in the down low. They were not trying to just run out there and do everyone. So there's hackers for profit, as in I want to throw a wide net and a mass audience, get paid. There's the NSO, we are targeted attack. We have the secret 0 day that we don't want to talk about because it'll get closed. And that way if someone says, hey, can you get so-and-so's access to their phone? They go, yes, as long as you're using WhatsApp. And with 1.5 billion users, there are a couple people using WhatsApp.
I wonder how easy it is to get in contact with NSO and procure these.
I mean, this is really, for me particularly, this is really scary. For them
Yeah.
to be able to have a RCE that they can, you don't even have to ask for the call. They just send malicious data to your phone and they're in.
Yeah.
This is why I use a VPN.
But even then,
I know.
yeah, it's just those things. But
It's bad.
And it's for Android and iOS, so you're not safe.
and they patched the code, so they fixed it. And I don't think as some people said, was a mistake made on purpose, like some programmer. I don't think so. It's a pretty obscure find. It's just a 0 day. Who knows who found it? Was it NSO Group or what's that competitor for HackerOne that doesn't do? They sell to the black market. They buy 0 days and sell them to the black market. Zerodium. So this could have been something that was sold to Zerodium, then bought by the NSO Group, and then used by whoever hired the NSO Group. So that's how I project this. Lesser of a concern.
How long has it been a 0 day? How
Yeah.
long have they been able to use this?
And how many
hack?
different people did they use this on? How many political? They now have. I was trying to follow up this. If you listen to the Risky Business podcast, they talked about a Palestinian who had spoke out a lot. He was apparently one of the targets of this. So I didn't follow the whole story. I didn't have a chance to read it all because I was just kind of flipping through it. But nonetheless, there are people who've been targeted. I think that was kind of how they started discovering some of this.
Yeah.
So when they have political activists this way, there's actually a good, I think it's a couple episodes back in November of the Darknet Diaries.
Right.
There's one about how a nation state will target an individual speaking out against
Yeah,
them.
that got interesting because it ended up being much darker than that.
Yeah.
Actually. It was.
Yeah.
You talking about the one with the big orange building?
Yeah.
Building 5, floor 6.
Yeah, building 5, floor 6. Yeah, that's the one.
Ooh, yeah, that
It's
was
a good
interesting.
episode. I think that's the title of it, Building 5, floor 6 on
Something like that.
there. But it's one of those things that show what governments will do and what levels they were. And this is one of those things. My friend, I've now borrowed his line. He used to do these security talks a number of years ago, and he gave some really good practical security talk from his days in working in corporate things like that. But always started out with, if any of you have a 3-letter agency after you, and there's a pause, and he goes, leave the room. I don't want to be around you. I can't even help you. All right, everyone else who did stay, this is who my security talk's for. It's a different game. It's a game changer when 3-letter agencies are after you. It's not just the willingness and unlimited budget they may have to really desire to get in there. They also have law enforcement on their side.
Yes.
So you can, if that's who's after you, think differently. It's beyond my pay grade. Don't get in that situation.
There you go. That's the best piece of advice you could have.
Yeah, so short answer, though, it's all patched. The WhatsApp, if you have it, please update it. You'll be protected.
Please update.
If you happen to be a political dissident in the country that generally funds that, I believe is one of the Middle Asian countries. I believe Israel's one that buys a lot from the NSL group.
Hello to you.
So if you have done something that may put you in harm's way with Israel, you may want to make sure that you just take the phone, break it in half,
Right. Yeah, basically.
think about life a little.
Right. Stop using WhatsApp.
But now you can't. That's a convenient way to communicate.
I know, right? But you gotta find more. If you
Yeah.
have those kinds of people after you, don't use WhatsApp, bro. Like, there's other ways to communicate.
Wait, WhatsApp is supposed to have end-to-end
I
encryption.
hear you, but
but
I'm not.
WhatsApp
I'm not
closed.
sold. I'm not sold.
WhatsApp is not open source. They use so
Right.
WhatsApp uses the Signal by Whisper Systems. Same protocol Signal uses for encryption. Top notch,
Right.
absolutely excellent.
Signal's awesome,
Yeah, Signal's awesome, but they didn't implement it in the same open source way.
and that's shaky for me.
And it's not
That
really
make-
open source in general. They're not giving you all the source code to everything. So
And this is why RCEs exist. And I'm not saying this is why RCEs exist, but this is why RCEs exist, right? And this is why we can't have nice things, right? Like, if it's open source, people like me and Tom may take an interest and go, oh, look what I found. Oh, it's just because of this one line of code,
right.
right?
You have more eyes looking at it, especially when you talk about a security product. You have more people poking at it. So coding things in open source is still the solution for a
It's
lot of that.
awesome. It's awesome. Peer-reviewed code is the way to go. I can't believe that it's not the present. Because it's already been of the past, so why wasn't it the future? Anyway.
Moving right along.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the next disaster that actually woke up Microsoft.
Ooh. Does Microsoft even need more wake-ups?
Exactly.
Well, this is
Sure.
weird because they patched, old versions of Windows, including Server 2003, because there's a wormable remote desktop flaw. By the way, if you have remote desktop exposed to the internet, even if it's a newer version, don't expose it to the internet. Please stop what you're doing and shut it off. Put it through a VPN. I get people ask me that all the time. But I always constantly have to tell them, put it behind a VPN. You have to put RDP behind some type of VPN. Don't expose it to the internet. And people are like, but there's no known flaws. I know, but the protocol is got sketchiness all over it. There's been flaws in the past. There's going to be flaws in the future. Do you want to be scrambling for the 0 day for this?
No, you don't.
No.
I guarantee you don't. Because, like we talked about, one of the metrics is 30% of these bugs get patched. Now, of course, this is probably going to be one of the 30% that companies rush out to patch. Because it's all over the news. It's the big blog. It's the...
I don't
it gets
know.
plastered.
The problem is if they're still running
XP,
XP
2003.
in 2003, how apt are they to really patch anything?
Well, I used to work for 2-letter companies, and I'm always like leery about it because there's pieces of software that's written by companies that are around here and only run on that shit, and it makes them so much money.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, why would I ever rewrite this? Until, like, you know, the wormable RDP bug.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
I mean,
How many of these have to happen before, like, it's reason enough to get rid of XP? How much of this shit? I mean, it's already, like, EOL'd, right? So it's not like...
It's end of life.
Yeah, like, they're not giving security patches for it.
Right. Well, any client I have still running it, one, I've got them all locked down, either separate networks or, you know, behind firewalls. A lot of them don't even have internet access.
Good.
And part of the reason why we have a client running it, so they run this, I mean, this is 80,000, 90,000 square foot warehouse for one of my client has, maybe a little bigger. And this warehouse is managed, all the inventory, on a Windows 2003 install on a virtual machine. So we virtualized it, you know, because the hardware died, but the entire software was written by a company that went out of business. The closest competitor is almost $250,000 or something for the software.
Oh, yeah, then you got that whole use case. That's the
Right.
icky one, too.
So it's one of those things. We manage the server. We keep it restricted. It's not going out to the greater internet. It's in a virtual machine. It's as
How about
locked
this?
down as we
How
can.
about this? There's a really cool hacker out there. I can't think of his name right now, but his story was similar to yours. And the guess what? The company went out of business, and the software wouldn't unlock. The license server was down, and that's when I learned some really interesting thing about proxies and
Yep.
being able to mimic servers. I won't talk about how to crack software because
Yeah, but there's
your
some.
software.
Well, and that's actually the challenge is there's not even an installer for the software.
Right.
This software was like from 12 years ago, so they used to come out and install it.
Oh,
So when there's no more people to come out and install it, they don't
man.
have discs or anything.
It was secret sauce.
Kind of like that.
See-
I just want to move this file into here. I just want to move this file into here.
That's why it's on a VM regularly backed up.
There you go.
Anyways, so there's a lot of these out there. There's a bunch of them that are going to be floating around, and a lot
Do
of
you have
this
numbers
stuff
from
is,
Showdown yet? Let me go hop on Showdown.
yeah, Open Showdown. It's the
Let's
just how
see.
many RDP exposures are there?
Let's
Well,
see.
A disgusting
according to the presenter at Converge, Microsoft, when they release new products, people have exploits for it within 2 weeks,
Yeah, 14 days.
within
Yeah.
14 days.
Yeah, it takes them no time at all. I mean, people are really pushing us. Me and Xavier talked about this. This is a big thing right now. Is all the push for more cracking, more getting into this. So,
Hey, George.
Yo.
hey, I'm glad to see all these people following over. It's
Yeah,
going
I'm
to take
glad
time,
to
but
see
this
everyone
is for
coming
the
over.
first live stream. We actually have more than I expected for the
You,
first
you
one.
ready for this number?
Mm-hmm.
You ready for this? Okay, so RDP, typical RDP, 2.3 million
Wow.
endpoints
Mm.
on the internet. Showdown. You know the two biggest reds?
2.3 million.
You know the two biggest reds? The number one biggest red is China.
Yes.
Second biggest red, U.S. You know why? Production. For the exact reasons I just said. It's interesting. It's icky.
It's a mess.
Yeah,
It's icky. It's a mess. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, and then like you still have some sysadmins out there that may be under a rock, and may
Well-
not even know about it.
There's a lot of that today. I dealt with a client. We know that they got pwned at a local organization,
Oh, boy.
and I contacted our IT guy. He's in his 60s. He thinks Norton's the best thing ever. Still, it's on his website, and he's just not a pleasant person. As I called one of my friends, I wasn't sure who was doing IT, and I thought I had an idea, and he knew because he's probably going to get it. I said, "Well, I'll give you the inside advantage because I know you're bidding on it. So you bid on this, and I'll call the guy here who's less than pleasant, and let them know that their systems are pwned. They got the SharePoint pop
Oh.
that 0 day, so our system stopped it. So they sent spam to our client. Our systems flagged it all, so nothing
course.
actually happened. It wouldn't even let them open the website. But our guy was fighting the systems, our customer, because they're like, I should be able to get this file, and they couldn't get the file because our system was like, no, that file is a bad
It's
file.
malicious.
It's malicious. So everything in our stack worked, and but they're using Office 365 in the cloud with probably no 2FA. I didn't verify that because I didn't even hear from their IT person when I tried to contact them. I just sent them a message, sent them all the mailbox headers. We verified that the mail came from them. That's probably a video I should do sometime is how to do mail verification. There's MX Toolbox is a really cool tool where I can show and prove who did what. And I've had to do this when I'm doing debriefs to find out who was hacked. It's really slick, and it creates a unique ID, so I can share it with another IT guy. After I do the research, you put it together. It's all on MX Toolbox, and you can do that, so I can prove attribution. Like, your domain sent this, not spoofed, because it will determine whether or not the domain was spoofed by looking up the DKM, looking up the SPF records, and go, no, this is matching, similar to, came from this domain.
Right.
It does all the matching for you. It puts all kind of green and red check boxes, and I can
Nice.
just send that as a URL to someone going, here's your proof that you're a pwned. You have a great day.
There you go, TTYL. Call me if you need help.
Yep.
We got a couple questions. George wants to know, where is the send beer money button? Well, George, this is a new channel. I don't think they have given us a donation
Nope.
button yet.
We don't get the
No
donation
donations.
button till first has to have 1,000 subscribers. Second, there's like so many thousand hours of watch time.
Okay.
So, but we're gonna get that, and what we will set up in the interim, which we didn't before this, we should have, is set up a Patreon.
Patreon.
Yeah. So we'll have that by the next episode. Dedicated this channel, so we can do it. Because I don't want it going to my channel. I want it all going, because this is a separate venture. So we'll have all that set up by the next time.
Okay. I want to say what's up to Philippe. And let me see, I have another question. When will the Discord be properly set up so we can't do the everyone command?
So we can't do the everyone command.
No.
Apparently, I'm the admin. I guess when I get home, I'll make Mo an admin and I'll make Tom an admin.
Okay.
So that I'm not in critical path.
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll just sync up. Send me a message on there and show me how to make it. Make it right. I want to make it cool. I've seen the cool ones.
Yeah.
I just don't know how to make it cool. I just want to make it. I just want to get you guys there. Now that you're there, one problem at a time.
Yeah. I haven't really spent much time on Discord, so I'm kind of an idiot at it too. So if anyone wants to send me an instruction on how to
There you
set it up
go.
right, I'm willing to help, but point me in the right direction.
There you go.
I'm there most of the time. And our other good friend, Teppy Dangler, is there. He can answer some questions of you guys.
Yep.
He's-
And No Self is in there.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
No Self is the bro.
forgive me, No Self. No
Yeah.
Self is also there. He's another great friend of ours.
Yep.
He can also answer a lot of technical questions also.
Cool.
So
MX Toolbox.
CJ
What's the
said
Discord tag? How they got hacked?
In before Honeycore Discord Honeypot.
Oh, my Discord tag. Give me 1 second. I'll get it for you.
Okay.
All right.
I
While you
changed
get
the
that.
background. Got rid of that generic.
There you go.
Okay.
Hack the planet.
How you guys like the background?
There you go. Now we fixed it. I forgot to do that before we started. We didn't. It was a disorganized day.
Yeah.
There you go.
Forgive
Yeah,
us. New channel switch over.
a whole lot
Trying
of
to get it
stuff
together.
spinning around.
We
We popped in on time at like 3 o'clock and just
Yeah.
completely just screwed this day for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We broke in through the back door. We unlocked this fucking server cabinet. Am I lying?
He did not. He did unlock my server cabinet. They didn't break anything,
Nope.
but
Not
and
yet.
everything's encrypted. But there's always a chance.
Yeah, no, it was all locked. It was just, it's just warm as shit. It's warm. Servers get warm.
We had the back door open.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Corey walked out the back door, and before we could close it, these guys walked in. Tailgating. It
There you
happens.
go. Oh yeah, that's my favorite. I tailgated a contractor into work on Friday.
Oh.
Well, not Friday. What was that? A few days ago. Because today's Friday. It felt like Friday because I hadn't been to work for the last couple of days. You guys know that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
What we got next?
What do we got next? So let's talk about the Intel stuff.
Oh my
Yes.
God! Do we have to?
We have
So-
to.
It's so icky.
We
I
have
am
to.
going to reach out to one of the security researchers because she's actually at University of Michigan.
Woot.
And she's local. That's where she does her research. So I might reach out to her, have her
Ever
as
come
just
on
like
to
a
the show?
show interview.
I got Intel chips. We can do some POCs.
POCs. Well, I want to talk about the process because there's hacking, there's reverse engineering, and then there's figuring out how processors work and figuring out how in SMT, symmetric multi-threading, how to get the data out of the other side. Now, all this, I did a breakdown of it, and it's not something, it's terrible, it's tragic, but it's also low entropy and not something you're going to have to worry about as much. Because what happens here is the threat model is you can get data out. So in the demonstration, the proof of concept, they have an i9 processor, so top of the line, super fast, and it takes 24 hours to extract the hashed root shadow.
Ooh.
But it took 24 hours of full tilt CPU on a Core i9. and it takes local access. Or you could have in your browser something running with the Java machine doing it. But what happens when it runs? Well, it goes from a lab environment to my browser has 20 tabs open, everything's processor switching, it's hard to load up the CPU to hammer it, and I don't have an i9 here, so it takes more than 24 hours times however long the interference. So the proof of concept versus reality of it, someone's like, oh, I'm really losing sleep over this because the patch isn't rolled out fast enough. I'm like, you are going to get pwned by completely something else long before you get pwned by this.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like
So-
an email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An email telling you that the patch is here.
Exactly. The email that the patch is
Don't
here
give any
is
more
more
ideas.
likely to pwn
No
you
more
than
ideas.
this.
No more
That's actually a
ideas.
great
Allegedly.
idea. That's actually a really good point. You are way more likely to get pwned by the patch than the actual this. And this is why a year after Spectre and Meltdown, and a year before that, if you aren't familiar with the more esoteric research of Rowhammer,
Oh, yeah.
so that's where it all started.
Yep.
They started, if you're not familiar with how memory works, it's if you've ever gone into BIOS and high-end PCs, you'll say RAS and CAS. That is for row address strobing, column address strobing. That's because memory is volatile, so you have to refresh it vertically and horizontally at a specific rate. And someone found out by understanding the rates of those, you could potentially bit flip the other pieces of memory. But Rowhammer led to the address space memory randomization. Then it led to the kernel space randomization, so things are in different places in memory. So now we spend more time attacking the processors, but it's all those proof of concepts that we could attack things at the silicon level to try to make differential information between there. But once again, here we are, still 3 years of the Rowhammer, zero Rowhammer proof of concepts. That's never I couldn't find any customer that's been hacked by they had a Rowhammer, man. Someone was able to take over the things in there.
That damn Rowhammer
I know.
worm.
And if anyone was able to exploit VMs in the cloud via Spectre Meltdown, no one has seen it. I'm not saying it should have been patched, but no one has seen it as in the wild. There's not code out there. And it always, once these hackers get a hold of this, there's code out there. Look at the NSO group, is tightly as they tried to protect their intellectual property, still get out there. You got nation state level dollars behind that. So it's one of those things. It's just it's very, very slow to extract information out of it. Even the proofs of concept when I played with the Spectre Meltdown took forever to get a stupid cat picture out of the computer. Like my CPUs are all pinned, 24 cores, trying to wiggle out a piece of information on a known location based on a whole proof of concept, and it didn't just work like a snap. It worked. That's interesting. That's scary, but it's not what keep me up. It's just not what's going to keep me up at night. This is not that problem. So interesting though, because attacking anything at the silicon level is fascinating, and it's a different level of researcher.
Yeah, that's a double E for you. Now, well, that's what happens when people like to say, "Oh, double E's aren't just focused on security." That's what happens when a double E focuses on security. You get scary side channel speculative attacks and shit like that.
Yeah. So I'm fascinated by it. There's a kernel update that patches it. Don't lose sleep over it, and that was my video I did the other day on it. Don't patch it, don't panic. That's as simple as it is. So ain't that big of a deal.
Let me see what else going on in the world.
Oh my God, so much, bro. It's a lot. That RDP bug is still like scary.
That's probably the scariest one. It's going to be that one right there.
I even feel like I know it by heart. Like CVE 2019-0708. Like it's going to be something that's forever burned into memory.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is interesting right here. Is we'd kind of sort of heard about this last week,
Right.
and remember I said Norton, the CEO, retired. I don't know if this is coincident or not, but it sounds like the breaches may have occurred at McAfee, Trend Micro, and Symantec. They're kind of verifying, not verifying some of this, so it's kind of fuzzy still. But yeah, definitely happened. Now, what's interesting is with this attack is how we think it happened now. And this is some speculation, people on Reddit and me talking to other security people is an interesting theory. So how would I get all the source code, but I didn't breach the company? So they are claiming, well, this was a confusing claim. The hackers didn't get in, but they got the source code. It turns out someone had posted several articles, and apparently in order for Norton to work in a couple other countries, they had to do, now this is, I think it was Norton or McAfee, one of those came out with a procedure, but I still think something wasn't followed. They have to allow source code review in other countries. So their source code was given to another country so they could use it in their security stack to protect a nation state. So somehow, when they were doing the evaluation and doing these, the way you're supposed to do this is like what companies had said, we do this only in a clean room, as in we do not let them bring any devices with them. We put the source code on laptops, we bring them into the clean room. The clean room is offline, and we let the researchers use our laptops that we loaded source code on to review code. Then they leave, and they don't get to exfiltrate, and they're watched. It's done under supervision. And I've heard of doing this before. Anytime you do clean room source code reviews where you want to make sure someone reviews it but doesn't copy it, as in that. But someone got a hold of this source code, and that seems like a really plausible lie. That is the most dangerous time. Those laptops had to go in transport, however they were transported. I don't know every other detail. People just talk about the general clean room process for this, but that makes sense. And picture a nation state that's going, all right, we're Germany or whoever it was. Someone suggested it was Russia. I don't know if they would give source code to Russia, though. I don't know, hard to say.
That seems icky.
But then again, in the clean room environment, we bring in the laptops. We let your security researchers with no tricks up their sleeves run through. I wonder if this guy sitting nude in a room. Like, you ain't hiding a USB drive nowhere.
Cough.
Squat. Squat. All right, man. We're going to make sure you're not going to take the source code out of here. But it does kind of interesting perspective on it that somehow they got it, but the companies are claiming they weren't breached.
Okay.
But they did get source code. So this is the only plausible way I could think of it happening, other than someone just copying it and taking it out of the building. That seems like
that happens a lot.
Yeah, it's
Insider
obviously
threat
another.
is scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then again, look at the big companies that it hasn't happened. And a lot of people like their jobs. The people who have access to source code are generally people who are extremely well paid, tried to make happy. It's the same reason that Google's doesn't leak sources and things like that. Apple, they've actually done a great job of keeping secrets and stuff. Their engineers just don't spill the beans and everything.
You've heard how that works in Apple?
Oh, it's yes,
it's a little.
It's a cult.
It's culty.
It's very culty.
Enlighten us, Xavier.
I don't know if I want to, just because like maybe Apple one day will play nice with me. But like I've heard some interesting things about the culture at Apple around like the siloing and the secrecy and how everything is a secret. And even if you like want to talk to somebody about something and you know that they're on a certain project, you have to go like make sure you verify before you even speak. And there's just like this culture of non-openness, and that's basically like anti my ethos. Like I believe in openness. I believe in open source. Like Detroit Cybersecurity makes a bunch of tools, and they're all open source tools, right? So I don't know. It's just interesting.
It's interesting. And then someone pointed out that, a lot of governments require source code to do business. And it's not unheard of. I mean, this is something that goes on. Years ago, when we did proprietary software, we used to do code escrows. We used to have to get the source code, put it in escrow for some of the large purchases we did, and for some of the code we created. That way, in case something ever happened to developers, we had source code for certain things and aspects because it was core to our business, and we were a big company. So there's all kinds of little things that have occurred over the years like this. So it's not uncommon. There's procedures for this. But it makes sense. That's probably how it got out. What I want to know is I want them to start dumping the source code and learn more about it, though. That's the. I don't know that anyone's.
We all
it
would
yet.
like that.
Part of me wants them to, and then like another part of me hopes that they don't, just because that's a flurry of bugs waiting to happen. I'll put it to you like that.
Yeah, definitely.
They gotta start patching now.
It's a mess, but boy, is it fun. That's.
Watch it burn.
When there's chaos on the internet, it's just kind of fun. I don't know. There's. Me and Xavier talk. We're a little anarchists in both of us. We don't want it to be, but it's there.
Like
yes, I am not an anarchist.
It's enjoyable. I mean, like, people, I'll just leave it at that, people, And if you know how people are, then you know how people are, and it's the reason why anarchy has a place in the world. And, like, I like being a part of anarchist groups, mostly because, like, if you want to do something, there's no one stopping you.
Yes.
Right? And I think that's really interesting. I think that's an interesting thing because, like, there's so many blockers in making life better just as a normal human, as a normal citizen. And, like, there are other parts of society in which that those blockers don't exist.
Yeah.
Be a rebel. Don't be an anarchist.
Okay. That's probably better advice than being an anarchist. But there's still something about...
I have no advice for you. I'm just telling you about me.
Yeah.
Please don't just follow me blindly. That's cult leader shit.
Yeah, that's...
I'm no cult leader. I'll be a terrible cult leader. You just sit around hacking computers, drinking Red Bull, Maybe, I don't know. That sounds kind of dope. Yeah, follow me.
Yeah.
Hack these computers. I want an RDP vulnerability. Give it.
I don't know about you, but Red Bull doesn't work for me when hacking. It just makes me sleepy.
I pop a Red Bull every morning at work. Number one consumer of Red Bull here. Bing.
Nah, we do Monster here, and what is it? Just lots of caffeine coffee. Coffee for me, mostly black coffee. 3-4 cups every morning. Gets me
Coffee
up.
makes my tummy hurt. It makes my tummy do weird things before noon, and I don't want my tummy to do weird things before noon.
You need a breakfast sandwich with it.
Uh,
There you
Let
go.
me see. Is that it? What else?
I don't think I had anything else in there. Didn't I? I thought I threw the Detroit one in there, but I didn't.
Oh,
Something did happen in the city, didn't it?
you're talking about facial recognition
Yeah.
Skynet shit.
Oh.
So this is
I don't
interesting.
wanna Be on public record talking about this shit,
I do.
dude. Oh,
So
it's icky.
Project Greenlight. This is something unique to Detroit, and I'll find it and add it to the show links. Why don't I have it up here right now? I thought I have to pull up the muckraker. Project Greenlight is a really interesting system that runs in the Azure Data Cloud. I know because I met the dev team from them. But what they do is they offer. Basically, you watch CSI and you all see those BS things that everyone thinks is true. Like someone clicks on a keyboard and they see every camera in the city. They can pull it all up. They can go, all right, show me the Ford Taurus that was used in this event. Show me every camera across the whole city where it is. And, you see this in all these stupid crime shows and you're like, that ain't realistic. Well, someone says, if someone threw enough money at us.
If you simply throw money at us,
Yeah. You could probably do something like that. So they did. They started this program called Project Greenlight. Now, Project Greenlight allows the outside cameras, for now, outside cameras at all these businesses around Detroit to provide facial recognition and access through a central system in Azure. So they have local recording abilities, and they also are sending data back to Azure. And from one dashboard, they can see everything. So if they need to see a car that went down the street, and there's like 20 businesses on that street that also are using the Project Greenlight, they can pull feeds from all 20 of those cameras and kind of piece together where it was. It's got object recognition, facial recognition, and these things are everywhere. They gave a discount. There was some type of grant, I believe it was, through Comcast to get these put into businesses. So instead of just going with the normal security system, you got a discount to go with this Project Greenlight system, and you were helping the community.
It's always a discount when you put it in an urban area.
Yeah. Yeah. So they got all kinds of cameras all over the place, and it's watching us and doing facial recognition, and that is a bit of concern. They just banned facial recognition in LA? San Francisco. And they have a guy, I seen this, and I didn't bother saving it because I didn't think the headline was true, but there was at least some good, interesting discussion on it. The person started a game of constantly blocking their face in England.
Basically.
And they arrested him, gave him a ticket for obstructing.
I'm about to be that guy, basically.
Yeah.
Gotta figure out a way to put something on my glasses that'll just block my face out. Just I want it to be a sensor bar right here. Talk to me if you got the tech.
Well, what can we put that'll put drop tables and a QR code on your face? Or
I
something?
personally,
there's a guy right now that has he has a object recognition blindness. Like he has a picture that he puts in front of something that does object recognition, and it no longer recognizes it as an object. So that's definitely an attack vector. We got to figure it out.
I'm personally against Project Greenlight. This is just me. I'm personally against it. It's a surveillance on an urban area.
It's one of those powers that's so powerful, and we don't have clear rules around it. It's ripe for abuse.
Yes.
It's great in concept, and this is the problem with many things. It's like, oh, this seems like a good idea. This seems like something we should do, but in reality it's not always. Those in power, especially if they're being opaque about it, and by the way, this map is no joke. This is all the different locations that have it all over Detroit. So,
and now you're indexed by your face and your car and your location and the frequency of location and the mood of your face and the condition of your car and the colors that you wear and all of these other things that a computer is going to be trying to analyze and basically give back to some person and let them know about your potential to be able to do something. Isn't this like RoboCop? Didn't we already realize that Never mind. I don't.
Well, exactly.
If I jump too deep into this, it'll really upset me because like as a privacy
I don't.
advocate,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't like it, and I already didn't like it before it did facial recognition.
Yeah.
And this is already Google's already proven there's been some problems with facial recognition. And you have to go back to the fundamentals of how AI systems and how these sets, as they're referred to, build for facial recognition. They take lots of sets, as in lots of people. They put these people's images, they feed them in there so they can start identifying them and figure out what the distinguishing feature between two people are. That takes more and more data. So what happens is, and this is a statistical side effect, and this is some of the points brought up in some of these articles about this. Well, there are fewer, not in this room, but in general, black people than white people. So if it has fewer sets...
Not in this room.
Not in this room, though. I'm outnumbered here.
That's hilarious.
But what happens is they have fewer data sets. So the chances of a false positive of going, well, you look like this guy. And once again, that's why Mo brings up in an urban area. Now you have them mistakenly identifying, going, oh, guess what? You got a Ford Taurus. Well, yeah, there's only like 100,000 of them in fucking Detroit.
And you know what happens when they misidentify you.
Oh.
Nothing goes well.
The shit's on Twitter. Like, you don't have to go looking far. Like, every single day there's a case of mistaken identity. So
and we don't need AI systems adding to the mistaken identity problem.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
Yeah, that's only going to...
And I just knew they were going to implement other things when they just say we want to put the CCTV in.
Yeah.
I knew facial recognition is next. License plate recognition is next.
Mm-hmm.
Body language recognition is next.
Yeah,
social status recognition is next.
When I was in London, I went to London for an Amazon event, and I'm walking around the streets of London. And London's an interesting place.
Yeah.
I find this guy. He has this group of people around him. He's standing on like literally a soapbox, right? And he's telling them about like how facial recognition has allowed the government to be able to actually superimpose the face of the face of this girl who's gone missing onto this dead person and claim that she's dead even though she's been detained by the government for whatever reason, blah, blah, blah. And like in my brain, I'm like, that's total nonsense. Like this dude's like actually got people standing around him and he believes that. And then like facial recognition technology comes to your town and you're like,
yeah.
Wow, like was the guy too far off?
No.
Right?
Exactly.
Like that's icky. You talk about making a model and putting it in the cloud and doing math on it.
So did you guys ever read Cory Doctorow's little brother?
Never.
So one of the absolute best kind of dystopian looks at things, and I didn't realize it's celebrating 10 years now. I've read it twice. I've read the follow-up one, and I've also my kids read it. And it makes you think differently about life and security. Cory Doctorow is one of my heroes. By the way, all these books on Cory Doctorow's are free. He gives every book away for free. You can give him money if you want, but Cory will tell you himself, if you don't have money, just take all my books. Like, you can download them right from his website. They're all 100% free. Anyways, I've read, I think, everything that he's ever wrote. I haven't read his new book, Walk Away, yet, but I will. But one of the things that in here they talk about is all the different areas of surveillance. And one of the things that made Cory Doctorow's book so interesting and why this front page article here of 10 years later is he talked about facial recognition. He talked about all these things years ago when he wrote this book before any of it. He goes, this is what the government do. So the setting for the book, it's fiction. The setting for the book is the second 9/11. So there was a terrorist incident that occurs. A bunch of kids who are some hackers that skip school that day, wrong place, wrong time, find themselves detained by the Homeland Security.
Wow.
And it goes downhill from there about building the hacker sneaker net and, you know, how to exchange encrypted data and how they were using Tor. He was doing all the things when they were early technologies, but he predicted so many things that they had done. One of the cool things is you had actually mentioned behavior analysis, like looking at how you walk. He has this in the book that the school he was in, they set it to all these technologies exist, right? So then the school he's in, he talks about how the cameras would recognize you even with a hoodie on because they had a gait measurement. A gait is how you walk, so they watch how you step. So every day he'd put a different rock in a shoe.
Yeah.
So he always walked different because he's always fighting with how to get the rock in the right place. And you never can get a rock in the right place.
Yeah.
But now it makes you walk different. It would mess up the analyzers because they couldn't define what his walk was. And he says, you know, just a rock and a shoe. Little details. Cory's a writer like that. Future thinking.
That's interesting.
Some of the worst case scenario thinking, which is sad, but then again, they asked him, like, did you know all this was going on? Did you have inside information on the NSA? And he's like, no, I was a lawyer for the EFF. I've been public about everything that's been going on. You guys told me I had a tinfoil hat on. I write fiction books about it. You're like, well, you were future thinking. He goes, no, I lived in the real world and I knew what the governments were going to do with this, even though I couldn't prove they were doing it.
I told you the truth and I marked it as fiction, and you're like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite movies. I believe it's called. Is it They Live, or with the what's with the old wrestler, Roddy Piper, and he puts on the glasses.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you can see all the real ads.
Of all those aliens and everything.
You know, he can see all the aliens.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, They Live.
Yeah, They Live. There you go.
I remember that was a creepy movie.
I mean, that's where we're living in right now. It's ads everywhere.
Yeah,
everywhere.
some of this stuff is it's coming to fruition a little bit, and it's not that I think it's bad. It's not a dystopian future, but that's because we stop and ask the questions now. We try to raise awareness about them. That's what prevents it. You can't just rely on the government to do it. It's people saying on the show here, They Live.
Yeah,
They live.
So, yeah. What a mess.
It's definitely a mess. It does the facial recognition thing does sound communist. It does not feel like freedom. But I mean, you get to carry guns, so freedom, right?
Yeah. And it's totalitarian would be the right word. It's not a communist thing. It's a totalitarian thing.
There you go.
That would be the right word to use for what that means, because it's the government maintaining total control.
Mm-hmm.
And the concept that you don't have anything to hide is always a wrong one, because one of the things you always have to remember is if you say, okay, I don't mind if they have copies of my data, I'm not doing anything bad, that means you have to not only now but in the future agree with those in power. And this is one of those things. They have data on you by something I do now that is legal under the current, administration, the people who are in control of our government today. The next election cycle, new people get in control, and they go, give me a list of all those people that were doing this because I'm passing law. And I know they're doing it, so they're probably still doing it. Now that piece of information changed.
Right.
That's why it's better not to have them have that information about you. That's the concept you have to work from.
Yes.
Lots to think about.
That makes security research extremely interesting.
Yes, that's another movie. Good point. Team Rampage, the Will Smith movie.
Enemy of the State.
Yeah,
that was good.
Yeah.
And once again, they were thinking towards the future on it and stuff like that. But now we have a lot of that. This is a lot more common than it ever was. So, yeah, happenstance can get you in trouble. Yes, it does. Well, Google just had that too. Google was giving up location data. They've run a series of tests on this before with law enforcement. They wanted to know, the person was using payphones. So it sounds like they've got a good disconnect, right? If I use a payphone and I want to call in a threat. They wanted to see how quickly they can identify someone calling in a threat. It only took them the third phone call to find the person, third or fourth. Pretty short amount. The way they did it, for each phone call, they were able to go scoop up all the data from all the cell carriers who willingly gave it to them immediately. Here's the 4 locations and here's the time they occurred. I need a list of every cell phone that was in this area. And then...
Probably like 3.
Well, it turned out there only was 1,
There
and it
you
was
go.
the guy, so they instantly found there wasn't enough people that had at the same time been in all 4 same places.
Wow.
Because think about the statistical odds of that
Why
happens
do you
very...
wanna commit felonies and bring your phone over?
Well...
Like, this is 90s shit. You don't commit felonies and take your pager. Like, this is things that we learned before.
Allegedly.
Well, you definitely don't. Not even allegedly. You don't commit felonies, especially with your pager.
But here's this problem I have with it. And hey, that's cool. You're giving some operational excellence tips to people who, if you're going to commit a felony, you don't have your phone. But let's look at the other side of that. Because they were able to pick someone up on that data. What if I want to make those calls, but I have someone else's phone, and I'm at those 4 locations, and I return it right back to where it was.
Yeah, just like the spam host thing, where they're blacklisting and banning every IP address that does a SYN scan on them, but I can spoof your IP address,
Right.
and now I can get you banned by spam host. Now what happens?
Right.
Now what?
So
Attribution.
right.
Yeah.
So the problem is when we start relying on these things, or I should not we, but the government starts relying on these types of tools, it becomes easier to frame someone.
Especially so I want to pull up to the gas station and the vehicle that I have, which is a normal car. Other people can have this vehicle. And now we're moving to these electronic license plates. So someone can literally
Yeah.
Become me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is where all these problems become in there, because there's too much law enforcement maybe not understanding the tools. They assume, look, that says you were at these 4
Right.
locations when these 4 events occurred. Therefore, it's you. You're guilty. That's it. And that's where some of these problems come in.
Yeah,
You're like,
definitely.
no, someone got in my iPhone account and updated my location with another phone, and I didn't notice it because they weren't doing anything nefarious. They were just doing location updates, which didn't raise a flag anywhere.
Icky.
Icky. There's for any new technology, there's new potential attacks on it and new ways to leverage it. You know, framing someone is just as bad, because now you've completely thrown them off your trail because they have a suspect. They got him. You performed the hack. They did the fall.
Me and Mo were just at Taco Bell, and we were having a conversation about Apple Pay and the alleged things that you could get away with because of that trust boundary between your phone and the point of sale, and how a phone is easily lost, stolen, replicated, etc. So that was
Yeah.
Yeah, someone says, doesn't Google have that now? Yes. Google admitted recently that they've been keeping your location data way longer than they should.
Oh, yeah.
But that's to be expected. You know, my joke is, if you ask where I'm at, I'm right here. This is where I'm at, not where I'm at, but where I'm at.
I mean, that's how they're treating it these days, and that's kind of a bad thing. You can go do something over here, leave you here. And
Being
go
a
over here.
privacy person, but also realizing, this goes back to the early days of me hanging out with the 2600 crew. I made a decision forever ago to my personal life I pay cash for as much as possible, other than my usual functional bills like my DT interview, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Paying that cash doesn't really put me off the radar. But they don't know where I shop. They don't know where I buy food
Yeah.
from. They know where I expense it for my business. That's separate. Anything else, I take part of my paycheck, I put it in cash every time I pay myself.
Of course.
And then I buy everything offline.
Bills, you pay with credit cards and
That-
stuff, but gas, snacks, don't
Nope.
use a credit card for that. That's
Nope.
just they
I keep it all-
tracking you. They know your buying habits. They know what you buy.
Yep. It's just to keep me. Matter of fact, it's kind of, I'm off the grid in that way from that little thing. I've been doing it for so long.
They
I don't know. It's
how
just
to advertise to you.
now the Kroger card thing was actually fun when Kroger came with the Kroger card, because a bunch of us at 2600, we just all got the same number. We're like, well, we want the discount, but how do we not want them to have our shopping habit? And I'm like, why don't we just all use the same number?
Done.
Well, then it turned into the joke because we talk about what we buy, and we're like, it kind of looks like one person anyways, because it was Jolt Cola back then. So like, look, we get all the Jolt Cola on discount. We all we all buy potato chips, barbecue Lay's, potato chips all day. So it really didn't make them look like one person. Like, really, we all buy the same thing. Probably confused Kroger because it was being used all over the place. We're like, replicate this card everywhere. Everyone just copied it. All you had to do is just it's a number, a PIN number you punch in. There wasn't anything else to it, so we didn't have to do anything hackerish. But it did fuzz our entire thing.
It just
That's
gave
interesting.
you a little cloak.
Added some entropy.
Yeah, it's some entry features. They don't know what my shopping habits are. They know the typical They know the typical shopping habits of a 2600 attendee.
There you go.
Yes, Otto, I've heard about Sweden being the cashless society. You know, everything.
Yeah.
Is just. Ooh.
There are suing places right now that are doing cashless. I believe New York has put a stop to it. Some of the places were going to go cashless, and they're starting to fight more of them on it because some people want to be able to pay cash.
Because I'm going to be honest, I'm from my urban area. Where I'm from, a lot of urban people don't have bank accounts. They have cash. So if you make your service where you only accept cards, you're going to cut off a large amount of customers.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it enters the privacy people and things like that. That's the way we do things, you know. Well, if I can get my information a little less out there.
Right.
And someone's going to call out that I'm using Google Chrome. Yes, this is for business. You know, Chrome is all the businessy stuff I do, and everything else is done in a completely different browser.
Yeah.
I'm a Firefox guy myself.
Firefox is still solid, despite their little hiccup they had the other day.
Yeah, they have constant hiccups, but everybody's got constant hiccups, right?
Someone else that's saying someone's using all their numbers. I have a handful of people that use. Everyone here uses my Kroger number. So does my wife and my kids. They all use it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many other people, because they when they changed to the new number system, it's just your phone number now.
Oh
So, yeah.
I may be giving myself away, but I made up a fake name and account at Panera Bread, and I just let everyone use it, so we just all
There you
share the
go.
reward points.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Yeah, who needs extensions? Thanks, Firefox. The only way to get a paycheck is a bank account name here. Where is here? That's a.
Oh,
Or is he from Sweden? Or he or she, Otto?
I think Sweden.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Only way to get a paycheck is a bank account.
Yeah,
Wow.
some
That's interesting.
That's interesting.
in Germany it's like that too. My friends from Germany, their whole system's different. You don't pay your employees, you pay the state, and then the state takes what needs to come out of it, and then they pay you, as opposed to the way it works here. It's a different structure. We had an interesting discussion on that. Things are a lot different.
Wow.
Also, Henry Ford, oddly enough, used to pay everybody in cash. I went and did the tour of that Paquette plant a few weeks ago.
What?
And Henry Ford had like massive amounts of cash. This goes all the way into the, I think into the 60s he was still doing it. He used to just, everyone handed out envelopes. There was a, basically like a bank crew,
I'm gonna have to
and
do
you
some
got your
research.
envelope on it. Read, it's a whole cool history of he paid everybody cash. He didn't want to deal with checks and all that. It was kind of a thing. They were showing, they had all these pictures of it and how it
Yeah,
worked,
that's-
and
'Cause
it's kind of cool.
He was trying to avoid something.
Oh, hell yeah.
Allegedly.
Dude, there's so many crazy stories about the stuff Henry Ford was avoiding.
Yeah.
He moved the entire entrance of Willow Run Airport to avoid taxes, because if his entrance was on one side, it's in Wayne County.
Wow.
So he moved the entrance on the other side to avoid paying Wayne County taxes to be in the next county over. There's all these cool stories. I've worked in some of the buildings over there that Henry
That's
Ford
how you
built.
work the system.
Yeah. Oh, he worked the system hard. He was not necessarily a good person either, by the way. He's glamorized for the things he accomplished, but there's plenty of bad about Henry Ford, and you can just do a little reading and find out about it. So
This is interesting. HDM 4000 said when you go into BAM or try to use the Wi-Fi. Oh, it's a bookstore, I guess. It will actually either sign in with Facebook, Google, or a member card. The brochure to sign up for a card has a number. That's too much information to give up to use free Wi-Fi.
weird.
You're already giving up too much information using free Wi-Fi in the first place.
Yeah, put a VPN. You know, I actually like that Google offers that. You can not the Google Pure phones, like this is a Pixel. They offer a Pixel 2. They have the auto VPN. So when it connects to a Wi-Fi network, it doesn't trust it, and it automatically VPNs for you.
Nice.
So it's a feature Google's
Do you
been
trust
doing
the
for a while.
VPN that it's automatically VPN? Like it's just another, it's yet another network that you don't.
Look, Google's
Control.
up front. Look, we're going ahead and it goes to Google, and your IP address becomes Google at that point. But the other side of it is Google's already letting you know we're here to slurp your data. So,
I'm just not. I'm okay. Google.
well, you can still
Sorry.
install third-party VPN. Matter of fact, I connect to my work VPN if I care. It depends what I'm doing on the phone, which usually
Yeah.
not much. I don't even keep my bank information on here. Yeah, not that exciting. There's a reason for that.
Fernando brought up a point about having cash. He doesn't carry it anymore because he got robbed once.
That's a challenge.
It's a challenge.
Man.
I mean-
so much.
You can be robbed for your credit card and not ever know it and get your whole bank account drained. Or you could just lose the little cash you had in your pocket.
When I cash out, when I pay myself, I do not have it all in my pocket.
No.
Keep about $50 and that's it. So if you're gonna rob me, I hope it's worth $50. And I didn't just go buy a bunch of candy. So.
We from Detroit, so if you're gonna rob me, we making the news.
Oh yeah, that was yeah. Anything-
And a whole lot of new shit. For sure.
Well, you know, there's that sound. Nothing says I mean business. You know, when they hear the click, the rack, the.
Yep.
We're Americans. We got guns.
Mm-hmm. Possible.
We're in
I'm
a
not fucking around.
pro gun state.
Don't take from me. I don't
Yeah.
play around with taking from me. That's why I'm in security, because like, don't come on my network trying to take shit. I'm gonna fuck you up.
But everyone stay safe. I mean, if you don't, like to carry cash, that's fine. Just use your card.
You know, if you don't want to use cash, I got something for you. Cashless payment card systems like contactless, like Samsung Pay and Apple Pay
and Google
they
Pay. Yeah.
generate virtual card numbers every single time.
Yeah.
So all of those same privacy concerns that you have with people like tracking you and whatnot can be solved by using not only virtual cards when you go shop from like things like privacy.com. Shout out to Bo over at privacy.com. Great guy. Great person, whomever they are. Or you could use your Apple Pay and it generates a new card for you every single time. You just have the problem of if somebody steals your phone.
Yeah, making sure that you have your phone locked down for that.
Right.
Someone asked, what do you think of the Dahoo, Hikvision, and those off-brand kind of Chinese cameras? So Hikvision specifically we use a lot of here because a lot of our clients have them. But all that goes on a completely separate network. Matter of fact, the network they go on doesn't even have internet access. So they don't have the option of getting out. When we put these camera systems in, depending on how it is, there's the camera network. than the NVR. The NVR in the commercial environments, I've done a lot of videos on unified camera systems, and we do use those. But the larger commercial clients, ExactVision is popular among them. The ExactVision server has one network, or actually multiple bonded network interfaces to have camera feeds. There's no internet on that segment of the network. Then it has one wire going over to the internet where the camera server itself that runs the NVR tool. So there's a clear separation. I don't care what they try to contact. It doesn't really matter. So yes, they're crappy. In many cases, the Hikvision are better than some of the other ones, but they're not a concern as long as you don't put them on the same network as everything you have.
Okay. Oh, somebody called us. They said we don't have beer on the table.
Oh, boy. So
Sorry.
we'll remedy that situation. I will buy the beer. These guys, you know what you guys got to do? Tell me ahead of time. Tell me now, and I'll try to remember 7 days from now what beer needs to be on the table, and I'll make sure it's here because these guys forget to bring it, and I'm just here all day anyways.
Well, I'll put you like this. It'll be a lot easier now that it's our channel, so that when you guys send the stuffs, we'll just be able to go and like get it. You get what I mean? Like it's
well,
hard.
We're
to,
gonna
like,
have the Patreon stuff and everything else.
It's a whole lot of entropy in that entire system.
Yeah, we'll get the. That's why this is all moved to another channel, so it's dedicated, and we'll remember the beer. So,
But put down the type of beer you would like us to try.
There you go.
and
well, there's a thought too. Yeah.
We'll try it and let you guys know what we think.
So that,
Even though I'm not a beer drinker, I'm not gonna lie, I do not like beer at all.
It-
But I will drink it for you
I'm
guys.
for hard liquor as well too. So if anyone likes whiskey, I'll bring some in.
I have to drive, so I'm not going to do much more
than a shot.
than a beer.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to fuck around. I don't do the drinking and driving.
I mean, we're actually from a legal provisioning state, but I
Yeah.
don't know how that would look on the air.
Legal provisioning state.
It's,
Sure.
it's a
Sure.
rather green state here in
There
Michigan.
you go. Now I understand what you're saying. Legal provisioning. That's interesting.
Yes. That's what they call provision centers.
Provisions. I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's a very technical name. It's rather green here in Michigan. Anyways,
Any other news that we need to
is
discuss?
anything else anyone wants to cover before we bounce out of here? Because it's 8:30. We've been on for about an hour. We got 50 viewers. Not bad for a brand new channel.
That's not
Oh.
bad. We appreciate everyone who came in.
Thank you for tuning in.
Please
Mhm.
tell someone. Any questions?
Yeah, questions and all that stuff. We're still working on getting the website set up. That's going to happen soon. We started doing in doodles and stuff. We got the channel. We got the important part. We'll have the Patreon by next week, so that way money can come that way. We need to get to so many subscribers and so many views. I'm going to take and upload all the previous videos
Okay.
up to this channel. That way the channel has a history to it from there. I don't know if I should remove them from my current channel, but I don't. Yeah, that's the
No,
thing.
you should-
I'll
you
just
should
make
leave
what I'm
them
going to do is for on my current channel, I can put an overlay on every video that redirects you to the new channels. Look, one of those little hover over links.
Yeah.
All new content's on this channel. That way,
Makes
anyone who comes across them, because I hate they have high position. If I delete them, they lose their position.
Right.
I want to
Okay.
use them as
Yeah.
a landing to
Yeah.
this. So probably I'll do that unless anyone has a suggestion that's I'm not thinking of.
And we still have the cartoon coming. We're still finalizing it. Have to
Okay,
work
yeah.
on the finishing touches.
Yeah.
It's that's fun.
Yeah.
We're having fun with that.
You guys
Yeah.
will see the cartoon version of Tom with the sandals on.
Gotta have the
afraid.
sandals.
So the Xavier's also an admin on his channel, so he's going to be uploading some other content might be on here. It's not just going to be how they hack, but it's going to be tech hacking focus related stuff. If we can, upload any other interviews or things like that too. Chris Roberts, if one day we can reach out to J Street or something.
Yeah. We gotta figure out some way somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do like a live from Vegas DEF CON show or something weird, right? Like get weird. DEF CON's on a Friday.
If I'm gonna try to make it DEF CON,
Can somebody send him to DEF CON?
but we definitely will bring you some footage from DEF CON. I know
sure.
you guys want to see that. Everyone can't make it, but for those who can, we will try to bring back footage for the others.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff to share with people, how things are, how things go.
Yeah, and it's super interesting. You do have to be aware that when you are at DEF CON, you cannot walk around with cameras. You will get the shit kicked out of you.
Yes.
It is that kind of conference where they
Yes.
don't really fuck around about
But-
the cameras.
But you can find people, say, are you willing to be on camera?
Yeah.
Take them outside, say, hey, let's talk
Yeah,
about this.
go
So-
off con.
Yeah, and it's one of those things because you have a hacker comments, and you want to make sure the person is comfortable and that you're not ancillary getting. Once people are outside, they're whatever they know. There's cameras everywhere.
Right.
They already know there's cameras
It's
everywhere
Vegas.
inside of Vegas, but
Talk
outside
about
of
weirdness and gate detection. And,
Camellia knows what's up. Definitely take burner phones to DEF CON.
I love taking my personal phone to DEF CON. It's
I'll take a
awesome.
burner.
You know why? Yeah, you can take a burner. The idea for me is if my phone is not hardened enough for DEF CON, it's not hardened enough for life.
Yeah.
Right? Like
That's
I
a good
got
point.
I got secrets, not like that bad things, but I mean like, you shouldn't have my LastPass password. And so like I'm taking all the steps that I possibly can on day-to-day mode to make sure that you don't get my LastPass password. So that's the way that I look at life. Every network is a hostile network, and especially my fucking network is the most hostile of all networks.
There's all kinds of fuzzers running on it. There's
Man,
just
what?
stuff.
I mean, like you have to assume that you're breached and make sure that the endpoints that are important to you are hardened.
Chameleon, we on the same page.
Chameleon, you guys are on the same page.
Also, when Ronald Clark said you guys need to do a getting started in security. Actually, Xavier had a really great interview with Chris Roberts.
Yep.
It is on the
Lawrence System channel right now. I can upload it to this channel too, just so it's in two places. But yeah, the Chris Roberts video is excellent.
excellent advice.
Excellent advice about getting started, and he's a legend. So,
He's a legend.
what else we have here? What is your take on Libre 5M phone? Delayed forever. I haven't really looked into it. I seen there's a couple people who were talking about some of those phones, some of the open source phones. I haven't really been keeping up with it in any detail to make any.
They're pointing at Xavier.
So, oh man, someone pwned that stream there.
No, that's just Mac shit.
Oh, I'm glad I don't have a Mac.
There you go.
All right.
Speaking
So-
of Macs, I did run into a problem at the CTF yesterday.
No, you didn't.
I did.
Yeah.
Maybe it was me. Maybe it was just me.
Maybe
It was.
I got it to work. If it works for me,
Look, I'm gonna get you guys using Linux boxes soon enough.
there you go. I mean, if you can get the person who owns this machine to turn it into a Linux box, I'm all for it.
Hey, look at this.
Or if you can give me like a solid fucking.
I got the cube going on here. Actually, can I display this?
Oh, hold on. No. Oh,
Yeah, kind of.
There you go.
I like the delay between it. We're watching it to infinity
Oh
there.
wow, there you go. Bloop, bloop,
Bloop, bloop, bloop.
oh, don't do it. You're gonna
Oh,
get
Stupid
Inception.
tricks,
You're gonna
stupid
get it,
tricks.
people.
Inception.
a. Sorry, guys.
Sorry, I'm childish today, so. All right, we're winding down. We're both tired. They've been at a conference. I've been hustling all day,
Yes.
keeping up with things. So
If you've
more
noticed,
videos to come.
We have yawned a lot this episode.
Yes.
Yep.
We have been up since. What time?
We
is
have
it?
walked miles.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, and I also did a review. This is Parrot Security, Parrot OS. I did a review of this recently about getting started with it and what you got to do and what it is. So yes, I'm still running it. You should watch that video. It's one of the things. If you want to get started, you either got to learn. Well, you don't have to, but good tools to learn. Kali and Parrot. They are both in competition with each other for being just focused distributions with all the hacking tools you need. So when someone mentions a tool, instead of downloading it, you can probably find it in the list. And if you just want to start poking at the tools, it's a great distribution. So highly recommend it. And because I've been doing more security stuff to crack some things from whatnot, I want to do that too, is to talk about using hacking tools to find default passwords because they fired their idiot IT person who didn't document anything, and we take over. People are like, when are you going to learn these skills? What's the real world implementation of knowing some of these hacking skills? I've had to pick locks to IT rooms. I've had to pick server cabinets. I've had to just go cracking passwords because we didn't know the password because they fired the guy because he didn't show up. And that's one of those weird things. So like, well, I guess he's fired because he don't show up, but also we can't get into our system, so we need this fixed. Yeah, so these tools do have real-world use cases, enumerating networks to find devices. That's all stuff I do on this laptop, troubleshoot network testing. I spent way too many hours Thursday going bananas. I'll do a video about that soon. Sort of got a bunch of wireless that's going in for a client, so I had to check firmware and things and stuff, and it was a mess. But having all those tools at your disposal to, dissect and analyze networks and Wi-Fi, great to have on a laptop.
Yes.
There you go.
As long as you're doing it in a fun, safe environment.
Yes, legal. I was asked to fix the network. That sometimes means cracking passwords on a network. But, oh well. All right, we'll let Xavier press the button. We're all tired. We're all running down